There's going to be bloodshed in Akutia and future elections.
Reverend Fourjour, I'm looking at you eyeball to eyeball, and let me say, you don't deserve the title Reverend. Shame on you.
Ntim Fourjour in the news again. Ochem blogger Debia o trend. Abusia na say ni Ntim Fourjour edi information between about Akutia upcoming by elections. Edi be share na say ya. Abusia KSM ware ati MPP omanya misko. Sana no so NDC omanya misko. Abusia me srawa so when you subscribe to this channel, subscribe this channel Benny Bengazi GH. The turn on notification bell on. Sabaya drop latest update. Ubenye bi eshe. And feel free so but my channel just work comment section and share video we and my for into enye bi and share. Abusia, let's move straight to the matter. Ubakaya na say no finance minister okopiem of parliament. I will read the media review budget no. Ahona minority ni a boycott here in parliament. Almost sorry free parliament. Okopiem Jubilee House. Eden ya Omu present statement ama His Excellency say Abelkumanov ReRun modia sheso chaos basa si amanfo ag speed wo honoma His Excellency wonhwe no ye ehu bibi enye saade a enye omode ahona Ntim Fourjour edi information bi tudwa awusia nsembe na Ntim Fourjour edi atudwa yentie no.
Send a strong signal that if the president wants to continue his inaction in bringing the perpetrators to book, arresting them, prosecuting them, there's going to be bloodshed in Akutia and future elections. We don't want bloodshed in future elections. Democracy cannot be traded for violence. We don't want a time where you go and put ballot box at a polling station and nobody will come out to vote. No one wants to come out and get killed by some political vigilantes. And that is what NDC is doing. It's a dangerous trend. It's a national security threat. It must be rooted out, and the president must show commitment. But so far, too, he has demonstrated he doesn't care. So people who care in this country will rise up, and that is why this signal is very important.
Abusia, in some way, Ntim Fourjour, Edia Tujano, Ahona Monfo be social media, Amo Bohun Superman, and Ogumbe. Abusia, Yakoda Saria, Ntim Fourjour, at the press release, Tintin Abattoir Bontins. Adanya or say they had another Reverend Ntim Fourjour or say a month for BB Ekase or Jina baby Akase Akutia by elections no a bad than a blusher. No mom one Jina baby and Kase Akutia by election blusher bia ebabasusa one can't say one Jina baby and Casa that. I'll say no mom show a video now Ntim Fourjour was say Akutia by election no about no bloodshed because His Excellency one young will be here. That's what is going to happen. And then the Ntim Fourjour at the press release about say one Jina be and Casa assembly that and yellow credit to be a artist assemblies Efan who say Wakase bloodshed because why Akutiano Umbu a bogus and you know that kind. I want a KSM so much see Ntim Fourjour. Nenye bia Ntim Fourjour na dwunu ensisu na reverend kwa ya dia ma reverend no anya dia fata no edin keke kai enti KFC
Ultimate charlatan. Do you know what a charlatan is? Wait, they mean check your dictionaries and find out what a charlatan is. I want to start with the ultimate charlatan. I think his name is Reverend Fourjour. Reverend Fourjour, shame on you. Reverend Fourjour, I'm looking at you eyeball to eyeball, and let me say, you don't deserve the title Reverend. Shame on you. Reverend, Patromi Kakra, Wakasa, Ayode, said there will be bloodshed in Akutia. Oh, I'm sure you'll be at Akutia with your wife and your children. I'm sure you have a wife, eh? And I'm sure you have children. You're going to rally all of them and take them to Akutia and let them join whatever gangs that you plan to send to Akutia and tell your wife and children essentially we are going to have bloodshed today. A reverend opens his damn mouth and talks about we are going to have bloodshed in Akutia. If the president doesn't do something that you are authorizing, there'll be bloodshed in Akutia. Reverend, what is saying, Ntim Fourjour? We are serious. Are you serious? No. If you're serious, then I want you to have a press conference and renounce that reverend title you have on you. Renounce it. Throw it away. All you pastors out there who are calling yourselves reverends and whatever titles you're giving yourself and standing in the forefront of Ghanaians telling us nonsense. Trust me, I'll come after you. Not with bloodshed, with Nyansa. With Nyansa, I'll come after you to prove to you that you are worthless people. You're calling for bloodshed? And then Sunday you go and stand on the pulpit and say what? Our Father who art in heaven, let us, and you actually give the grace, may the grace of the Lord be with us, and things like that. One of the issues that the whole nation we should start paying attention to is our mental health. Because honestly, Reverend Fourjour, what mental problem? You are making the MPP become a party of rascals. Reverend Fourjour, you are disgracing your party.
Abusia, KSM so we Obokom introduces about MPP, their history, how their party came up, how their party started, and how their party was doing, and now how their party is. The same thing. Obokoti into NDS, how NDS was from JJ Rollers to Atamus to John Mama. Abusia, Ntim.
Charlie, MPP, why? You are disgracing your party. Look, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said, growing up, MPP was such an attractive party. Okay, so yeah, MPP, it was such an attractive thing. Everybody wanted to be MPP because from the days of independence, the MPP had packaged itself as the party of the intelligentsia. We are the wise ones. We know great things. So there was a time in the history of Ghana that the MPP was a very attractive party. But gradually, those of you who are older and in the MPP who are in positions of thinking and leadership, you will know that there's been a shift from the MPP being the party of intelligentsia, the party of gentlemen, the party of lawyers, to the MPP being a party of rascals. I'm sorry. A party of people who are emotional. They just, somebody can stand up and say, if you go see somebody fighting, say, oh, yeah, MPP ni mapa. If you're a proper MPP and you go and see somebody fighting and you see that it's a fight between NDC and MPP, no, I'll put NDC in.
So we are MPP ni mapa. We are MPP. Now we got to say MPP for. Now say MPP ni any NDC ni ekwa. We are MPP ni na NDC ni.
These are the statements that have turned your party into trash. I'm serious. The MPP was a very attractive party. I remember back in the day, you put in a boy, you own him Darocha, near Bonim Victor Wusu, near Boti Windy Huawai Anto. Names, respected names. And that is what MPP was priding itself in. But slowly, as I was growing, I am witnessing that slowly the NDC is becoming more and more attractive. Meanwhile, at the time that the MPP was attractive, the NDC had no standing. Let me tell you why. And then look, the NDC came out of the roots of a revolution. J.J. Rowling started this revolution in 1979, and it was what it was called the African Armed Forces Revolutionary Council. So they came in as revolutionary, It was during that time that there was something in Ghana. For those of you who are in Kolade, you don't know, but those of us in my age and slightly young, know. There was a period in Ghana called Let the Blood Flow. Let the blood flow. That was a period in Ghana that 3 former heads of states were executed at the firing range. Firing range. They were tied to stakes. They were tied to stakes in Ghana here, and they were saying, fire! Shot. They killed 3 former heads of states in Ghana because we were like, we are in the revolution. Let the blood flow. When we kill people, we are going to stamp out corruption. When we kill, so that was an era, very, very, very hard era that we went through because of circumstances. I don't want to talk about that now, but I'm just saying that was the roots of the NDC, because the man who led the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, Flight Lam J.J. Rawlins, he was the one that eventually came back into power after handing over, and then he started with the PNDC, the Provisional National Defense Council. Also, now listen to this, folks. The PNDC, with this revolutionary giddy line, gradually transformed into what is now called the NDC. People are alive, they just dropped the P. There was a PNDC, and you drop P, and the NDC. So, folks, the NDC had its roots in the resurrection of Jerry Rawlins. Then Jerry Rawlins handed over, came back again with the PNDC, and then the PNDC was transformed to the NDC. Provisional National Defense Council became the National Democratic Congress. So people still at that point remembered, say, NDC crime roots here, violent roots. And that is why the NDC was so unattractive. Then, even people who were NDC fellows who go and vote for NDC crime, in public they don't say that. And I mean, I'm NDC. After voting for NDC, that is how unattractive the NDC was at some point in the history of Ghana. Those who know. You can talk to those who know that the NDC at some point was the most unattractive party in Ghana, because they were known as hooligans. Or NDC for the hooligans. I remember there was one time, was it the youth wing of the NDC or some part of the NDC near from Veranda Boys? Nkrumah started with Veranda Boys back in the day, and these were like they were not the like the educated people. I think you can call them foot soldiers then, So I think there was a whole period of time when the youth and the NDC and the foot soldiers, they formed themselves into a group called the Veranda Boys. Follow me. I'm just telling you why the NDC was such an unattractive party. So many violent Veranda Boys and all of these things. And it dawned on the NDC, Charlie, if we don't change our image, it's likely that we will be missing out, because we are not attracting the intelligent people, we are not attracting the lawyers, we are not attracting the professionals, we are not attracting the doctors, we are attracting the riffraff. And so it was part of the reason why the leadership of the NDC invited Professor Atta Mills to become a vice president for J.J. Rawlins, just to calm the radical element. Yes, let's bring this professor. Nobody knew him. It wasn't like he was active in politics, and it wasn't like he was a visible person. It wasn't like anybody knew Atta Mills. So all of a sudden, NDC said, we have a new vice president for J.J. Rawlins. He's a professor. He was an income tax man. And then they brought this gentleman, Professor Atta Mills, on. And that started changing the face of the giddy. It was like, it was calming that whole face down. And it took a while. Eventually, Atta Mills came into power, and what did we know him for? Asumdwehene. Imagine, coming from the same tradition that had killed heads of states, the same tradition that had mounted stakes, firing squad. He came and said, I want you to follow me and understand that the history is very, very interesting. So the once party that was known to be violent and giddy now had a leader who says, I am the father of all. Can you imagine? I am the father of all. And even people who are radical, even still criticize, say, Uba, they also your father of all. Let me tell you one thing that people probably don't know. Eventually, when Atta Mills became the president of Ghana, one of the things that Jerry Rawlins did enjoy too much about Atamils. Was say, Atamils is not persecuting or prosecuting MPP officials on my bonnet. So for that reason, Krana, if anything, saying, ReRun wasn't too much fun of him. Yankas SMEP, but he just thought he was just too much of a cool dude. So follow me on. So, but believe it or not, that was the time that NDC also started getting attractive to others, because the image was not an image of a violent person and a leader. Was a professor or income tax person. Cool. And then guess what? Atamils also found him a vice president, who is now the president, John Dramani Mahama. Also another cool dude then. So believe it or not, this was the time that changes started happening in the structure of politics. You know, that now the NDC is competing with the MPP in terms of calm people who are in the leadership and things like that. And eventually it started going on between the NDC and the MPP. But gradually the shifts were getting so amazing that the NDC somehow, apart from maybe the radical extremist full soldiers, you know, the top leadership, they were more adapting a more calm demeanor. And at the same time, the MPP was also switching to adopt a more rugged demeanor. When I'm switching by, you know, I'm not giving you the specific in time, I'm just giving you the narration of what has happened up to today. The NDC has become such an attractive party, and you can tell from the results of the last election. They have taken over that cool demeanor, no? The leadership, the front line from the MPP. And as I was saying, I was hoping that when the delegates conference was coming, we're going to see an amazing shift for the MPP to also to go back to where they started from as the calm party and everything. But no, after such a massive, humiliating loss, they are even riding higher. We are the we. We won't tolerate nonsense. We are the we. We are the mighty. And folks, that is why I'm telling you, MPP, that is why you're losing ground. Because the nature of the Ghanaian is not any longer vested in this kind of radical giddy. People are like, now, even monies you have stolen from this country, let's retrieve the money. All that means is that some resetting, whether you like it or not, is taking place. And if I were you, I will support the resetting and help in the resetting. Because like I've said, and I'll keep saying, any party now who does not adhere to resetting this nation cannot find anywhere to put their feet in this nation, because times have changed though. Things have changed, sides have changed. Can you imagine, just for 1 second though, can you imagine that under His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, the MPP had 2/3 majority? Even being the minority ponyo. Can you imagine the MPP has 2/3 majority? What would have happened? I leave that to your imagination. Now, I want you to follow me with something. Remember what happened at Ayawaso, the election, when thugs came in under the guise of your national security and were messing about, destroying things, slapping MPs and doing everything in Ayawaso. Do you remember? Do you remember? And then we found out that these were MPP thugs. You want to say roles now reverse? Before they would have said NDC for Nesa. And it was true that the radical ones and the violent ones were those who were coming from the JJ heritage. But look at how that switched. Look at what happened at Techiman South. 8 people killed. And this is all under the watch of those who before were attractive as the learned, gentle people who knew and understood the law. But this is what happened. And here's the funny thing. When Ayawaso happened, did you see then the NDC in minority in parliament boycotting it? Say, I'm sorry, because Ayawaso happened. Did you see that? When Techiman happened, did you see the NDC getting up and say, we are boycotting it? I want you to follow me to understand that the roles were switching. The roles were switching.
Abusia, chirawa juma me comment section. Peace out.